If you listen to liberal democratic elites all over the world, they will tell you that dictators impose themselves on the people, that they are hated and resented and ultimately rejected by their own citizens, that they have no constituency, at least not a legitimate one, that their power is derived from vast networks of corrupt and venal patronage, and so on and so forth. Regrettably, all this is counterfactual, simply untrue. The fact is that authoritarian leaders, tyrants, dictators, have been mostly elected in fair, free, and legitimate elections. Example, Adolf Hitler. Or they surfed the wave of the popular will, for example, Franco in Spain. Dictators and tyrants rise to power because the people want it. The people fully support them. The people love them. The people adore and admire and adulate them. The people regard them as the solution to a panoply of myriad problems in a variety of fields, economically, socially, culturally, and so on and so forth. Dictators are the reification of the popular will. No, they do not impose themselves on the people. The majority of dictators are very loved, sometimes to the very end of their regimes. And so we need to dispense with this idea that there are the people and then there are dictators. And the dictators is some kind of growth, outgrowth, or tumor, or cancer, a malignancy that needs to be excised and removed from the body politic. That is completely untrue. Dictatorships reflect the will of the people. They are not imposed on them. Tyrannies are the invariable outcomes of culture wars. When there is a sense of imminent threat to identity, to beliefs, to values, to a way of life, the reaction to such a threat is to resort to a strong man, to a powerful personality which is charismatic and seems to offer a clear-cut, unequivocal, and unambiguous solution, cruel as it might be. The strong man is there to cut through the chase, to untangle the Gordic knot, and to represent the values, the culture, the identity, the beliefs, and the way of life of vast constituencies. It is surfing the wave of discontent and chagrin and disgruntlement and disenfranchisement, real or imagined. People will do anything to win a culture war, a Kulturkampf. People will suffer a corrupt tyrant. They will sacrifice their well-being. They will abscond with their livelihood or livelihood. They will give up their safety, their rights, and even their lives. They will forego their freedoms, and they will incarcerate and kill, if necessary, their adversaries. Culture wars are not about money, they are not about power, they are not about the redistribution of resources, they are not about scarcity. Culture wars are about one's soul. It is the soul of the nation, or the soul of a group of people, or the soul of a collective, or the soul of a period in history, of the soul of a culture, the soul of a society. These are battles, pitched battles, that seek to preserve such soul, to elevate it, to somehow make sure that it doesn't perish. And when people are fighting for their souls, everything else is secondary and negligent. Everything else is tangential and not important and irrelevant. People are fighting for their souls. People are fighting for their essence and their quiddity. People are fighting for their identity. People are fighting for who they are. People want the familiarity and the comfort zone of their axiological and doxastic systems of beliefs and values. And so in such a war, the commander-in-chief, the leader of the army, can be a corrupt tyrant. It's a minor point, a non-issue, actually. And those who kid themselves, those who self-deceive into believing that such a tyrant can be stopped dead in his or her tracks using institutions, they're wrong, because the tyrant immediately co-opts all existing institutions, transforms them with his magic and enchantment, and they become subservient, slavishly obedient to the tyrant. That includes the court, that includes parliaments and congresses, that includes intellectual elites, that includes universities, that includes law firms, that includes everyone at play, all the institutions of the state, all the institutions of any collective, all the institutions on the individual level, all of them crumble in front of the inexorable transformation, or the inexorable transmogrification, one should say, that the tyrant brings about, the very progress of the juggernaut of history. Culture wars are protracted. Remember the Civil War in the United States in the 1860s? Culture wars often end in real wars. Culture wars are an existential threat. You could lose your money and still be you. You could lose your family and still be you. You could lose all your freedoms and still be you. But if you lose the culture wars, you are no longer and no more. That's why people fight tooth and nail. That's why people sacrifice everything. That's why people give up on everything. That's why people adhere to, obey, and observe the commands of the tyrant. The tyrant is perceived as the only cure, a panacea, the only solution. Having tried everything else and failed, the tyrant seems to be the ultimate go-to, gateway to victory. Triumphant, the tyrant stands at the nexus of the past and the future. The tyrant, therefore, is in full ownership of the present. The dictator dictates. Dictator in the Roman Republic was actually an elected official post. And so modern dictators are usually brought to power, as I said, in fair and free elections, sometimes multiple times, multiply. And when they do assume power, they immediately embark on the task of undoing, deconstructing, and if necessary, destroying the old in order to bring in the new. And the overriding purpose, the overriding plan, is to create an environment which would exclude, preclude, and expel anything and anyone who challenges the values, the beliefs, the systems, the institutions of the constituency of the tyrant, of the dictator. The tyrant can represent, for example, white people against minorities. The dictator can represent a master race against inferior races. There's always a narrative, and there's always a group of people who feel ominously and imminently and immanently threatened. The tyrant affords this group of people a sense of stability and safety, a recourse. And it is through the dictator that this group of people express themselves. He is their loudspeaker. He is their channel of communication. He channels them. A life under the adversary, under the other, a life under the other camp, is perceived as a life not worth living. Give me freedom from the adversary, or give me death, say these people. Today there's such a battle, a culture war, taking place in the United States between progressive liberals, woke movements and such, And conservatives and traditionalists, not in the classical sense, the new reincarnation of traditionalists and conservatives fused with evangelical Christians and so on. And it is a culture war. And no one in either camp can contemplate losing, because losing would mean losing one's soul. There's a tyrant emerging in the United States, a dictator. It's the new phrase is a unitary executive. It's a dictator in all by name. He does what he wants. He is corrupt and venal. He is vindictive, and he is on the path to destroying all his enemies. What is the source of his power? His enemies are also the enemies of his constituency, his base. And this is why Donald Trump is most definitely going to win. And all the existing institutions of the United States are going to be dismantled or reduced to size or silenced. The liberal majority has failed and has lost this war. They just don't know it yet.